One of the most inconceivable phenomena of our world and era is the rise of populists like Donald Trump. Here you have a billionaire whose main support base is a bunch of poor working class individuals. How does this make sense? It makes sense because of the distortion and lies the media outlet like Fox News have presented to the people. It forces individuals to vote against their best interests. This is not true democracy, and that is why on proposition we would stand on a political task to ensure that democracy is upheld. What are the tasks that we are talking about today? They will revolve around non-specific assessment of political awareness. Such tasks may encompass the following questions in the form of multiple choice system to ensure access. First things, like a representative system involving the gun control laws. Is your presidential candidate vote against free trade, or is your prime minister support the NHS and how it functions? In general, this will mean questions about policy stance, only allowing people to be moderately informed. But to require people to be moderately informed, we make it to be as accessible as possible. What is our policy? First, voters should have to pass a basic test of political general knowledge before they are allowed to vote. Second, this means that there will be a dedicated statewide holidays for individuals to take such political tasks through online platforms or a specific test centers that cater varying needs. Third, these tests will be crafted and administered by an independent body, similar to how a political independent electoral commission operates in elections. Fourth, we stand strongly to accompany educational campaigns by the same independent body by posters, flyers, and other media outlets that will be distributed statewide to means like community centers. And finally, if individuals fail this test, they can still opt to retake the test to find out more. We have three arguments. First, there will be better democracy. Second, there will be better vote. And finally, there will be better politics. First argument, there will be better democracy. The thesis of this argument is that uninformed voters do not meet criteria of a vote. Democracy works on an alignment of what people perceive to be the best interest and the interest of the society. In every of these votes, we achieve a general consensus of the type of policies that should be adopted. Crucially, this is only possible when people are really fully informed about the policies and stances that various political parties have to offer. Only they can vote in a way that benefits them and the rest of society. Crucially, we think the vote moreover is particularly significant too, because of how such policies impact not just individuals alone, but the rest of the society as well. In the interest of society, it is then crucial that the votes that people make are reasonably informed. This is why, for instance, we already restrict the right to vote for minors, as their youth is an indicator of how they may be unable to make a reasonable decision that will impact everyone else. In the same way, we don't think that people that are uninformed can give a meaningful vote, because they simply cannot approximate the impact of their vote. So to illustrate, if I vote Democrats, for instance, and I am also uninformed, I have no idea how this will increase the number of liberal policies that will impact the rest of the wider society, and this is therefore the vote that they uphold on their side is entirely meaningless. There is no inherent value to ticking a box on a piece of paper. There is only value in a vote where it is made in an informed fashion in line with your own interests. So we talk about how we're not against the single issue voters. Neither do we think that it is illegitimate for a voter to vote on a politician's character. We say that they should only be allowed to do this after they know the policy of the politicians as well. Hence, this is particularly problematic furthermore because institutions like the media distort information in the world publicly today. This means that voters actually vote against their own interests more than ever. A prime illustration of this is how pro-Leave campaigners claim that even the EU costs the NHS $300 million every week, a figure that was strongly disputed by fact-checkers. This is why so many people claim that they have no idea what they were getting into the moment after the vote, as Google search proved that people didn't even know what the leaving of EU mean. We don't think this is democracy. Hence, our side can better conceptualize what democracy truly is. Second argument, that our side betters the vote. The thesis of this argument is that having a political general knowledge test is likely to reduce apathy and increase information. Let's recognize that there are spectrums of voters. On one end of the spectrum, there are those on the extreme that simply would not want to vote. This debate is not for these voters because these voters would not vote anyway. There's also some on the other end who are heavily engaged and informed. This is not likely to deter them from voting. It's debate about those in the middle, who are generally comprised of three different groups. First, those who rely on a political immersion. It's not that these people really do not care, it's just they don't really want to spend the effort to find out about the issues that are happening. Hence, they rely on the previous information that may be inaccurate. Second, those who are actively misinformed by the social circle or the media. We benefit them as well. Finally, those who have unique, genuine concerns like inconvenience. We argue that it is regrettable for you to be inconvenient, but we still think that taking a test is not as inconvenient because you can have measures like multiple voting bases on our side of the house. For these people, therefore, our side betters the vote through two means. First, because we lessen political apathy. Inherent in basic political tasks, we incentivize the apathetic to find our vote. This is especially so because the vote is a valid instrument and most people would still want to claim their right to vote because they still want to have a say in a politic. It's just they don't want to spend the effort to do so. Hence, because our side still allows them to access the right, we force them to find out more in our side of the house. Two, because we increase access of the information as well while reducing the incentive of the political parties to distort information. Political parties in our side actually have the incentive to accurately inform the base of what is going on. Why? Because their voters need to pass the test in order to go and vote. This means that in our side of the house, we uniquely reduce the political distortion. We reduce things like political misleading and focus on the substantive issues because political parties know that their voters have to know about these things before they go out. This means that, for instance, instead of the Republicans saying that Obamacare destroys the economy and all these hypothetical things that actually never happen, they will have to educate the public on our side of the house. This is how we ensure the politics on our side becomes much more informed because political parties themselves refer to all substantive and discussing the issues instead of political distortions and lies like what they did to Obama and Obamacare. They have to attack Obamacare in a much more informed fashion, in a much more substantive fashion. We're not saying that we'll solve all problems of electoral apathy, but we believe that this policy will change things for the better. Hence, through this political task, we create a more informed populace and a more informed vote. And that is why we say on proposition that education is the greatest equalizer. We are very proud to propose.